Petrol sales in Russian-occupied Crimea were suspended from Sunday morning as a fuel crisis deepens on the peninsula. According to Moscow's head of the annexed territory, fuel will be sold only to, quote, government agencies that ensure the functioning and security of the Republic of Crimea. It comes as Kyiv's targeting of Russia's energy industry sparks a major fuel crisis in Crimea, with long queues for petrol stations and limited supply.
С 9:00 на крымских АЗС отпуск топлива за наличный и безналичный расчет и за талоны юридическим и физическим лицам будет прекращен. Топливо будет отпускаться только службам, государственным службам, которые обеспечивают жизнедеятельность и безопасность Республики Крым.
In recent months, Ukraine has increasingly attacked Russian oil facilities. On Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his forces had hit facilities on, quote, both sides of the Crimean Bridge, including maritime logistics used to transport oil in the Krasnodar region and an oil depot in temporarily occupied Kerch. Meanwhile, Russian attacks on Ukraine have continued relentlessly, with local authorities in eastern Ukraine reporting 3 people dead and 22 others injured on Sunday.
A heat wave continued to grip much of Western Europe on Sunday, with high temperatures expected to persist well into next week. In France, authorities have restricted alcohol consumption at the annual Fête de la Musique festival in Paris. The nationwide summer solstice celebration involves thousands of concerts in village squares, rave venues, and clubs. The French government banned public drinking in red alert zones and ordered organizers of events to limit alcohol consumption to preserve emergency services. Temperatures are expected to reach 35 degrees in Paris on Sunday, while parts of southern France and Spain are set to touch 40 degrees. Across Europe, locals and tourists have flocked to parks, canals, and water fountains to seek relief from the heat, with temperatures reaching the upper 30s in Spain, Italy, Germany, and the UK. Human-caused climate change is tied to increasing extreme weather events, and UN Climate Agency projections say the next 5 years should shatter more heat records. A rapid study found that human-caused climate change was responsible for killing about 1,500 people in an unusually early European heatwave last month. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing mounting pressure to resign or face a challenge from newly elected Labour Party lawmaker Andy Burnham, who is returning to Parliament following a massive by-election win in Makerfield. Business Secretary Peter Kyle said on Sunday that Starmer was making time to reflect on the political realities amid media reports that he could announce a timetable for his resignation as soon as Monday. Burnham's win in the Makerfield constituency, nearly doubling Labour's majority, has increased the internal pressure on Starmer to quit, as Burnham has made clear he intends to bid to lead the slumping party. If successful, he would become Prime Minister by default, given that ruling Labour has a huge parliamentary majority. Starmer, who is deeply unpopular with voters according to polling, has so far insisted he will fight any attempts to oust him.
Israeli filmmaker Nadav Lapid has been at the center of public attention recently. He was scheduled to serve on the jury of the 37th Marseille International Film Festival in July, but withdrew after other participants called for a boycott against his involvement. We met the Israeli director in Nicosia during the 24th Cyprus Film Days International Festival and spoke with him about his film Yes.
I think that Yes is a film that tries to dig inside the collective psyche of this Israeli society post 7th of October, and in a way tries to dig in the soul of those who see themselves as the good Israelis, like not the bad ones, not the usual suspects. It's not they are not extremist settlers, they are not soldiers, they are not fanatic religious people, they are not even right-wing people. They are nice, kind, beautiful, normal Israelis who, of course, find themselves doing the worst.
Although Lapid's film received partial state funding from Israel, it has been fiercely condemned by the country's Ministry of Culture, which argues that it tarnishes the image of the nation and its military.
So the question, I think, is how cinema deal with such things. For instance, for Israeli society post 7th of October, with this society that will commit the genocide in Gaza. And my answer, which is, I think, is different from the popular answer of political cinema, is that instead of trying to go to the important political figures, I don't know, instead of analyzing Netanyahu or his politics, you should try to get to the collective psyche of a nation. I feel that instead of filling our classical role as artists, which means to be in advance or to jump to the fire and to deal with it, a huge majority of movies, they became a kind of tranquilizers. And in this sense, in a way, they collaborate with the atrocity.
The Israeli director is well aware that he has made enemies in his homeland.
My whole cinematic path is a kind of dance and of hate and intimacy with my motherland, and I paid, I think, a price and took risk for holding these positions, for doing the movies that I'm doing. So it's not easy to be an Israeli, but also, you shouldn't feel too pity for yourself.
Été comme hiver, nous avons une température constante d'entre 19,5 et 20 degrés, due à une machine qui recycle l'air, parce que comme on est dans une cave, donc un milieu complètement fermé, cette machine nous recycle l'air et nous redonne de l'air frais, ce qui a stabilisé la température.
Naturellement, on reste au frais, on n'a pas besoin effectivement, comme vous le disiez, d'une climatisation ou de quelque chose d'artificiel. Et c'est pareil l'hiver. L'hiver, si vous regardez les murs en fait d'un troglodyte, il n'y a pas d'isolant, il n'y a pas d'isolation sur ces murs, c'est uniquement des murs de tuffeau en façade. Et donc du coup, quand on chauffe à l'intérieur, l'hiver, on n'a pas froid puisqu'en fait la chaleur ne part pas à l'extérieur, elle reste vraiment à l'intérieur. C'est, je pense, en tout cas le meilleur isolant naturel qu'on ait aujourd'hui. Habiter dans une habitation troglodyte, c'est avec le dérèglement climatique dont on parlait tout à l'heure. Franchement, c'est une chance incroyable parce que en fait, il y a rien à faire, quoi. C'est au contraire, c'est juste profiter, je dirais, de cette fraîcheur naturelle que la roche finalement nous donne pour passer justement et vivre ces périodes de canicule régulières que l'on a maintenant depuis ces dernières années de manière agréable.
I wanted to see how my alignment compared to that of Stonehenge. And when I drew the line and extended it out on both sides, I realised that those alignments were parallel. In other words, the angle off of the direct north was exactly the same at my site as it is at Stonehenge. And then I began to think that actually I'd found a solstitial alignment.
What are the odds that this could happen by chance? And because these posts are not close to each other, they are 120 meters apart. This means that they create an alignment that is actually quite narrow. It's only about a degree. And to get an alignment like that with the solstice, by chance, has a probability of 0.5%. That's an odds of 1 to 1800.